First, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight for Career Innovations Q&A session. If this is your first time joining, welcome. We do this every single Monday from 7 to 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you ever should miss a session or you just are curious about some other topics that we may have covered in the past, just go to our YouTube channel. It's Career Innovations, all one word. And you can actually look at some past videos that we've done in topics that we've covered. You can look in the description part, and I actually put the questions in there so you don't have to watch the entire video to know what we're going to be covering in that particular session. I do encourage everyone to send their questions prior to the workshop. That's why when you fill out the registration form, it has a section where it's asked what questions would you like to address. That way we can put together slides and give you more informed answers based on the questions that we receive. You can ask questions one or two ways. If you didn't submit a question, we'll go through some of the questions that were submitted, and you have a chance to type in your question at the bottom in your navigator bar, or you can raise your hand. If you put in your audio code when you logged in, you're able to raise your hand and verbally ask your question. So you can ask those one of two ways, and that way I can unmute your mic. So from there, we're going to go ahead and move forward. And again, if this is your first time joining us, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do. I do about a 30-second overview about who we are. We're Career Innovations. We're an executive search firm. I'm Bridget Baggett, the Director of Recruiting, as well as the founder of the organization. As you can see, we find unconventional and innovative ways to find top talent. My true passion is organizational leadership and change. I want to actually find ways not only to locating the candidates or locating the top talent out there, but allowing them to grow with the organization that they're placed with. In addition to our training sessions that you're attending today, we also do resume writing, career coaching, market research for the employer as well as the candidate. We do compensation benchmarking as well as referral and retention workshops for employers. I like to start off each session with a quote. Today's quote is, "The greatest challenge in life is discovering who you are. The second greatest is learning to be happy with what you find." And we're going to have some questions really dealing with your overall career search, whether you're gainfully employed and looking for employment elsewhere or looking for a promotion, or if you're unemployed and you're looking just to get your foot in the door with the different type of industry or the current industry that you're in. We're going to address some questions that were submitted prior to the workshop first. The first question that was asked, that was sent in was, I started my career search about 6+ months ago. When I first started, I applied to a job, I interviewed and received an offer. The offer was what I asked for, but after doing some research, I realized I could probably do better and didn't want to jump on the first thing I applied for. So I end up turning down a really good job offer. Fast forward to 6 months later, I can't get anything close to what was offered to me since then. In fact, I can't even get an interview. What should I do? Should I reach back to the company? So I wanted to actually address this in case that someone out there other than this person is dealing with this, or I want you to also keep an open mind for people that are applying to jobs now and say you get an offer. What do? And if you may have some offers or that you feel that, hey, I can probably get something better, you don't want to, like someone said, or my mom used to say, you don't want to cut your nose to spite your face. So you want to make sure that what you're doing or whatever decision you decide to make, first and foremost, you're going to stand in that, you're going to be firm in your word, and you're going to move forward. So the first thing I want to talk about is reliable sources. In this particular question or this comment, in addition to the question, they said they did their own research. And according to many people that are looking for a job, and if you're online and you're looking for that promotion or even a lateral move, more than likely you're looking up how much this particular role is paying. You want to make sure that you're using some reliable sources. And the first thing people go to is, either salary.com or they go to Glassdoor is another one that you can log on and you can look at, depending on whether or not people disclose that, you can look at their salaries. But you also want to keep in mind some of these sources may not be the most reliable source to get this information. And I'm just going to just throw out Glassdoor. Not to say that the salary that they put on there is not right. Someone may be making, 60, 70, 80, or whatever figure they put in there. They may actually be making that, but you don't know what that figure is based on. So you may be looking at a number and you think that, well, everybody in this particular this position is making about this amount, which may not be true. They may be basing that salary on how long the person's been there, their education, their experience, what they're bringing to the table or lack thereof. So you have to keep this all in consideration. And when you go to these sites, especially on Glassdoor, and they tell you, 3 or 5 people documented this salary for this title, it doesn't break down the entire profile of the people that are making that amount of money. So you don't know. So you want to be very careful when you reach out and you research these sources and base that on what you should be making, because it may not be based on what you're going to get offered. So you want to make sure that you are looking at reliable sources. You're taking into account of not only the factors of demographic and cost of living, of course, but also the factors that may not be measurable on these online sites. You may not be working with a candidate, or someone that's in that position may have been there, 5 or 10 years prior, that they, that salary is based on, in addition to their experience, it may be based on their tenure there. So you don't know that. And unfortunately, that particular site or many other websites do not give you that big picture. Next thing you want to look at, from what the question, from what you kind of stated in your comment as well as your question, um, for you to apply to a job, that you, and I put in quotation marks, that you think you want, and you actually get what you asked for. From this question, it said you asked for it and they pretty much gave you what you asked for and you declined it. Question, that makes me question your overall career goals. Maybe you're on the fence with the position that you applied for. Maybe after reviewing or hearing in the interview the day in the life of this particular role, you may have reevaluated your career path. Maybe you thought that, what, after hearing it, this is not for me. That could have happened. I don't know. You know why you turned down that offer. So it could be possibly is more than the offer in itself. That's something that I'm asking you to think about and research internally. Do you have some undecided career goals or undetermined career goals that you're kind of putting in the back of your mind that this may be the chance or the platform to start focusing on? So what other factors are you weighing other than pay? And you might be thinking, well, why would you think that? Because if the pay has been matched and they gave you what you asked for, that lets me know there's other factors involved that you were weighing. And I know that you said that you were looking out to see, hey, I could do better. And that's when you fall into the grass is greener, mentality. I see they're offering me this. This is what I asked for, but when I log on to here or log on to there, I could get a couple grand more. That's the grass is greener scenario. But then again, you don't know what that person had to do to get that grass green, if you kind of understand what I'm saying. So outside of that, that made me also think that maybe you have some undecided career goals or undetermined career goals that you may be ignoring. Next, it may be some also declined confidence as you move forward, because I know in your question you also said that ever since then, fast forward 6 months, that you haven't got another offer, or if you had, it definitely wasn't comparable to the offer that you initially received. And in fact, you said you're not even getting interviews. So I'm also thinking that your confidence is playing a factor in this. And everyone or many people may already know that confidence does play a part in how well you interview. But some people may not know that confidence also plays a part, and it can affect the jobs that you actually apply for initially. If you already feel defeated and you've already are ready to give up, and you have a I can't do it attitude, more likely you're applying to jobs that may only reflect a fraction of your full abilities and potential. So you want to make sure that you're getting your confidence in check. You're not letting this particular isolated incident bring you down, and you're focusing on what needs to be focused on. Because if you're not, your confidence will not only pull you down, you'll find yourself in a position that either you already know how to do, you're not being challenged, you're not satisfied with, or you're going to start attracting positions that you don't desire. So you want to make sure that you're not having a decline confidence, and you're doing something about that. Next, this is for let me actually go back. This is for anyone or everyone that's on the line, regardless. And this question is tracking your efforts. And I meet so many candidates that are looking for a job, or looking for a lateral move, or a promotion, and they're not tracking what they do. You stated that you're not getting the offers or interviews following this event. Again, it goes back to what you can't change, or you can't change what you're not measuring, period. So if you don't know what you're doing that's working and what you're not doing, you have no way of changing that. So you also want to look back to this incident. What did you present when you initially applied for this job? You know, what did you do different? What were you showing off? Sometimes it's the small stuff that really counts. Did anyone that interviewed you catch anything that may have been something that was very attractive about your resume or about your profile? Which means that could have been a particular company that you work for, that could have been their initial competitor. What do you hold some type of specific skill set or certification that's unique to this particular industry? You know, these are some characteristics that could definitely make you more attractive than other candidates. And employers realize that. So you want to look back on what did you present, what foot did you put forward for them to call you back, not only call you back, but interview you and lay an offer of what you asked on the table. Now, next thing, the question was, should you reach back out to the company? And in the question, you said you fast forward 6+ months. So you're asking if you should reach back to the company and not only see if this position's available, or is there anything that you can probably do within that particular realm of expertise. Okay. This goes back to your relationship. What was your relationship with the company? And how did you decline? Did you decline this offer gracefully? And really what's going to determine this, the reasoning on which you declined. This is going to give me insight and the company insight on whether or not the company would consider you now or even in the future. Um, so you really want to take a look at the relationship that you put out there. And I always tell people, when you do something like this even goes with counter offers. This even goes, and you're playing a dangerous game when you juggle employers like that, and try to play them against each other. But in your case, you're not, because you don't have anyone to compare them with, or play them against, because you turned down the only offer you received. But this goes back to, and I was going to bring up a kind of like a dating scenario. Think about if you were dating someone, and if you tell them, hey, you seem like you're a cool catch, but I'm going to date you until something better comes along. That's in reality what you're telling, or what you did to the company. I'm not going to take your offer right now because I'm going to see what's out there. I think I can do better. I think I can make more money. No one wants to knowingly be in that type of relationship. We've all probably either been on the receiving end, or we've been the one dishing it out. But we more likely didn't say up front, hey, we're just going to do this until something better comes along. So you want to also be realistic. If you left on those terms or you decline that offer on those terms, what are your chances of the company saying, oh, since nothing better came along, we'll welcome you back? And you have to take that from a personal situation. If something like that happened in your life, are you going to be willing to take someone back, or have your hands wide open after they, you gave them a chance and they walked away looking for something better, but that better never came? So you definitely want to make sure that the relationship with the company's there, and you didn't put in your question, but what scenario or how you decline that offer, because I'm actually curious how you what was said to the company, knowingly that they gave you the offer that you asked and you declined anyway. Now I'm kind of curious what were your departing words with them. Next one is going to be, if this is something that you can't um, render, or you can't really build a relationship on, you want to go back and reevaluate your marketing plan. So it's back to the drawing board. Again, you want to look at how you're getting yourself out to those decision makers outside of just applying online. You also want to find ways that you can connect with people. Sometimes it tells me, if you applied and, like I said, and you interviewed, you have something to value that you're offering to the organization. Again, this is something that if they made their decision that quick, and you weren't even in the job search um, arena for that long and already got an offer, that tells me that something about your qualifications that they were really attracted to, allowed them to pursue you and give you an offer. The question is, do you know what that is? And are you marketing that asset? So that's something that you definitely want to look at as well. Don't get sidetracked. And a lot of people get sidetracked, and you actually got sidetracked in this particular incident because, again, you weren't focused on, on the initial position at hand. You were going out there to look to see if I could do better, if that was the real reason why you declined that offer. So you don't want to get sidetracked. You want to get focused, and you want to have priorities and stick with them. And it sounds like you had that going in, but something changed your mind. Either these unreliable sources, something came, that said, don't do it. And like I said, it could have been your career goals. It could have been that, this is not what you really want to do. Whatever it is, you want to not to get sidetracked, but you also want to make sure that you are taking on the problem head on, which means that you want to understand your actions and your overall career goals and try to address that. And last but not least, you want to have a learning experience. At the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a learning experience. You can chalk it up to a learning experience. And I actually have a quote about that. Experience is the hardest kind of teacher. It gives you the test first and the lesson afterwards. So you definitely want to just look at this as a learning experience moving forward. You definitely want to be prepared. You don't want to get sidetracked, again, with the sources and not knowing exactly what you want to do. Because as you can see, sometimes opportunity may knock only once. And this is a prime example of, 6 months in the game or 6 months later, you haven't got nothing close to what you were initially offered. So you definitely want to make sure that moving forward, you're not beating yourself over the head. You're not becoming discouraged, but you're taking this as a learning experience and you're implementing it in your job search moving forward. Next question was, I applied for an internal position and completed the entire interview process just for it to be offered to another external candidate. I was actually expecting the promotion at work, but did not get it. What should I do? And I have the trees here. And the first tree, talk to your manager. And how simple this may think. And first, I want to clear the air with this. Let's first make sure that your accomplishments and your ambition matches with your sense of entitlement. And how arrogant that may have sound, or how cold that may have sound. There's a lot of people out there that think they deserve a promotion. Let's face it, if you go into any company, everyone feels like they should be the boss or they can do their boss's job. Everyone at some point had that mentality. But we also want to make sure that you are being realistic and your accomplishments really do align with this sense of entitlement that you feel that you have. You know, you even stated it in your question that you stated that, hey, you expected the promotion. What indicators did you receive that validated that expectation? Did your boss tell you you got it? Did someone pull you over and say you got this in the bag? All you got to do is the paperwork. What pointed you in the direction that this expectation was going to be fulfilled, for one? And the first thing I would take it to is my manager. I would seek out information from the person that you directly report to, which means if you are expecting it and say maybe everything I'm saying is wrong, maybe they did tell you were going to get the job and pulled the job from under your feet. I don't know the real situation, but if that's the case, the first person I would talk would be to your manager. What you also can do, you can also reach out to your human resources department, not to the point of complaining. I'm not saying call your HR department and complain that you didn't get the job and you should have. All I'm saying is you should review what HR has on file, especially if you work for this company for a long time, which means that you may want to review your past performance. Pull up your performance reviews, review your manager notes, look at the recommendations, because if you're in a company that does performance annual reviews, more than likely, if they put things in there that they thought that you needed to improve on, or managers put notes in there, and a lot of times you sign off on these performance reviews without even reviewing them, because many people, they're just going through the motions. So you definitely may want to reach out to HR and take a look at what your overall performance looks like. And the next thing, or the last thing I would say, also look at look at the big picture, which means take an assessment and be brutally honest with the assessment that you take. And I know that can be very hard when you're talking about yourself, because you can be subjective to some of the things you think you do well that in reality that you don't. But you really want to take the data. That's why I say go to HR first, talk to your manager first, so you can get that third party data. You can get someone that externally is reviewing your work, your ethics, what you're doing, the type of products that you're producing, the service, the level of service that you're displaying, whatever that there are factors or indicators that they're gathering this quantitative data on and giving you a score. You want to look at that, and then you want to take a step back and look at the big picture. Is the role that you apply to, is this something that aligns with what you can actually do? And you want to be honest about that. And if you take a step back and you say, you know what, I've been in this job for X amount of years, I can do this job, and I have people that, hey, I'm doing the job now, I just don't have the pay and title. If you're in that particular position, you also want to look at the role that you're currently in, because I've seen a lot of people get overlooked for um, look for been overlooked for opportunities to grow, because they may be in a position that's vital for the company's growth, which means they may be in a revenue driven position or role that may be hard to replace, and they can't afford to lose you. I've seen it happen. So they're kind of between a rock and a hard place. Not to say that their performance is bad, or not to say that they can't do the job. They just may be in the position that they have to meet the business needs, and they really can't afford to lose the person. If you find yourself, again, after doing the assessment, that this is you, and you feel that you're stuck in a position, it's your call. It's your call whether or not you want to start positioning yourself for an opportunity that may be an external opportunity with your company, with the company itself. And again, that's something that you have to call. I never tell anyone to walk away, but I'm just telling you to take a look at the picture. And if you've been there for a very long time and been overlooked, and and everything is aligning to where it needs to align to, and you're still not moving forward, and maybe time for you to take a step back and really take a look at where you want to be, and if that company that you're currently working with can get you there. And if not, there's some decisions that you have to make. So I hope that's able to answer your question. Next one is, what are some things I should be considering to put in my resume, or I should know about a resume, other than the parts of a resume? And you have examples like experience, education, and things like that. So you pretty much want to know, what are some things you should know or consider about as you're putting your resume together? Well, I put this slide together, and I've used this one before because it's pretty much a straightforward slide on if you're putting a resume together, and if someone's on the line, trying to either update their resume, or they're using a resume that's not convincing, or you're not getting feedback or traction that you're looking for, keep in mind, you have 30 seconds to convince me. And this is for most companies. And this is by the time if an actual person looks at your resume. And I've talked before in past workshops about there's parsing software out there that scans these resumes for pertinent keywords that they're looking for before they even, are looked at by human eyes. So keep that in mind as well. You do want to have a real keyword enriched resume. But on top of that, here's some facts that are out there, or I wouldn't say 100% facts. Nothing's always 100%, but these are some numbers that were thrown out there from some research that was done. But they said the first resume is received about 200 seconds after a position is posted. In general, there are 427,000. So we're looking at about, a 500,000 resumes posted each and every week. Next one is understanding the hiring funnel. So as you're putting together your resume, you want to understand the hiring funnel. It will help you gauge your chances, plan for disasters, and you also want to know your hierarchy within the organization. Next one is you want to make sure if you have a weak online presence, if you have no type of cosign, or I call it a wingman, you have no wingman that's out there to cosign your abilities, any type of recommendations, and you want to make sure that the positions that you're applying for, you're not coming across as either underqualified. In some cases, if you're applying to jobs that will put you in a position to be overqualified. And I tell people, even when not even your resumes, but even weak LinkedIn profiles can actually hurt you. And I've seen a lot of people, they just to say they're on LinkedIn, they'll put up this shell of a profile, which is their name, one or two lines for their company, you throw a couple dates up there, and voila, their profile's done. That's not an enriched profile, because guess what? If I'm searching for someone that has the skill set that you can do, and you're not coming up in my list because you don't have anything on your profile, I'll never find you. And it may be for a company that, guess what, I didn't post the job online. I didn't post it online, so you don't even know that I'm hiring for someone in this role. I'm looking for people that can do it, but you're not coming up because your profile's not filled out. So that can also be a disadvantage for you as well. So that's another thing that you want to make sure that you're doing that. Last one is shotgun applying and spaghetti resumes. And that's pretty much, many people make a mistake when they go to these job boards. They're uploading their resume, they're applying to everything that they and I put in quotation marks, that they think they can do. And what happens is that you're throwing your resume out there and seeing what sticks. And that's pretty much the definition. And I don't know if anyone remembers, the tale of spaghetti's done. People threw it on the wall to see if it stuck on the wall, and of course, if you shoot a shotgun, it has pellets, and they just spray everywhere. And that's kind of like what some people are doing with their resume. Now, I don't know if I can do the job, but it looks like something I can do. So I'm going to apply here, 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 and I'm going to, apply and pray and just hope someone calls me back. And then when they call you back, you forget what companies you applied to. I've had that happen with people. They applied to so many companies, they just threw their resume out there and applied to so many companies, when they actually start calling back, you've already given me the impression that you don't know about the company, you don't know what you applied to, because when I tell you, you're like, huh? You're giving off the did I apply to that impression? So that that impression right there lets me know that, okay, next. You lost the opportunity off of something as simple as, again, tracking your efforts and keeping track of this stuff. Another thing I put up there that employers do look at, and I wanted to put this down here, with those 30 seconds, because a lot of people say, well, 30 seconds isn't a lot, that's not even a minute, that's a half a minute. So what information can you gather in those 30 seconds? This is it. We don't spend a whole lot of time on there, and this is actually something that was actually a study that was done by the Ladders, and they said this included the direct observation of the actions of not only corporate recruiters but anyone in the HR capacity demonstrated when they actually looked at a resume. You'll be shocked that when they looked at the resume, they spent about anywhere from 5 to 6 seconds on each particular section of your resume. So if you can do the math, 5, 10, 15, 20, or if you do 6, so anywhere 25, 30 seconds on your resume. So this was some of the things that they look at. The first one was your job title. So if you're applying to a job, of course, they're going to look at, okay, has this person worked in similar roles as this? They're also looking for what value did you bring to your last companies, looking at the job titles. Next, they're looking at companies. Are these companies I've heard of? Are these Fortune 500 companies? Are these startup companies? Are these my competitors? That's an advantage for some companies. So they're looking at that. Next, they're looking at your education or certifications or whatever type of experience they want you to know if you had. They're asking for a BS degree, or they're asking, hey, if I'm applying, if I'm hiring engineers, I got to make sure they have an engineering degree or something similar. So the next thing they may be taking 5 seconds to look at is your education and your training. And they also are looking at the end dates. I usually tell people to use month and year. Don't really care about, the 15th of or the 19th of April. It doesn't matter. I usually just take the month and the year. You don't have to put the exact date. In fact, I can't even remember the dates. In some cases, some jobs I've had in the past, especially straight out of school, I don't remember the exact day. I just know it was a year. I know the year I started. And that's what employers are looking for. They're looking for loyalty, longevity, growth, and experience. They're looking to see that you're not getting a new job every 6 months, unless they're contract jobs, which are acceptable in some cases. But they are looking at your start and end dates. So this is pretty much a quick 30 seconds of what they're looking at when they're looking at your resume. Okay, and then we're going to move on to the questions. We have about 20 or so minutes left, and I'll open the line up for any questions that you may have. This is our contact information, and I actually wanted to use the last slide for contact information because we have a summer sizzler sale or special going on. It ends actually tonight. We've been having this since Memorial Day weekend, and we've been extending it to the 15th. So if anyone has caught our last or past sessions, they would have seen me pretty much promote this special. It actually ends tonight at 11:59 because this is when our prices will be actually going up tonight. We are going to have a price increase. So any type of resume writing or editing will be 30% off. And any type of hourly rate, which may include a market research rate or a career coaching rate, is actually $75 off. And that's going to happen before our price increase. So I want to make everyone aware of that. Also, moving forward, if you do go ahead and hang up the line because it either answers your question or you're done for the night, there is a survey I would like everyone to take. It's about 10 questions, or it is 10 questions. I like to know how I do. Let me know. These workshops are for you. It lets me know if there's something I need to tweak, some questions I may need to talk about, or some answers I may need to spend a little bit more time on, even topics that you'd like for me to speak of in the future. This is the opportunity to pretty much let me know what can I do? How can I better my best? So please take the survey. I really would appreciate that. Best way to get a hold of me is setting a phone appointment if you want to actually speak with me. So you can go online, career-innovate.com, and set up a phone appointment. The another great way, or should I say, the number one way to reach me if you want to kind of in, into if you kind of want an immediate answer, would be my email. So I definitely would shoot me an email. I have that go to all my mobile devices, so I definitely can get an answer back to you if you have any questions or you want feedback about a particular topic. So I'm going to open the lines up and see if there's any questions, and I'd be more than happy to answer those. Okay, I do see one person typing a question. I will wait for that to come through. Okay, I do have one. You mentioned parsing software. Do all companies or only the big companies use it? And how would you catch its attention? Well, parsing software is usually tailored to they can have it tailored to particular keywords it's looking to pick up. Of course, not all companies use it, especially if they're not a huge company, and depending on the volume of resumes they're getting, there are a lot of companies that don't use it. It may not be a need for them. If they're a smaller company and they don't have a lot of hires, and the high or the positions they have, if they're not getting a huge volume, because keep in mind, some of these companies, especially the Fortune 500 ones, can get 500, 800, sometimes 1,000 resumes for one position, or several positions. So you're going to need some type of technology to handle that. And especially you want something that's going to put the best resumes in front of you versus someone that may have been doing the spaghetti method. I don't know if I can do the job. I'm just going to apply to it, and they don't want those resumes to, filter out the ones that actually can do the job. So there are companies that use it. Of course, not all companies use it because not all companies need it. They may get a sufficient amount of resumes that they can go through themselves. But I can still guarantee you that they're not going to spend a lot of time trying to decipher your resume. So if you're not putting the things on there that's going to catch their attention, you're not going to get a phone call, and they're not going to sit there and say, well, did he mean to say this, or what does he mean by that? If it's not what they're looking for, they're going to move on to the next one. So that's something that I wanted to put out there. So it just lets you know that many employees or many HR personnel are not out there trying to break down your resume because it's just too many of them. And then after a while, they start all looking alike. So you definitely want to make sure that you're putting something in there that's going to stand out. Okay, you're welcome. All right, do I have any more questions tonight? Got about 15 more minutes. I don't see any more questions. If you don't have any more questions for rest of the night, and I do see some people going ahead and logging off, I will go ahead and end our session. If you can think of a question, shoot me an email. Be more than happy to answer it. Or you can say, hey, let's talk about this next week, because we do this again every week, Monday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, take the survey. I look forward to helping you if I can, and have a great night. Thank you. Bye-bye.